Welcome to the Sleevy G Show. I'm your host for your most. My name is Gomez, and tonight, like every night, I do have a wonderful special guest. After being recognized by the Grammys, worked with so many great superstars of hip hop, R&B legends. I have to bring in Law. Law, what is going on, man?
What's the deal, man? What's going on, man? Finally, we made it.
Yeah,
It's
we
good.
finally made it, man. This is awesome. First of all, I gotta give up a shout out to the props of Katrina and Rachel at Kick Up Your Heels
Yes,
Entertainment
pick up your
because
heel. My girls,
um
love them.
actually we were just talking recently, and I'm actually gonna fly out to Toronto to go visit them.
That's awesome. I haven't been to Canada it's been years. Last
It's
time I was in
it's
Canada,
it's
I
funny.
was a P-Funk, so that's wow.
It's kind of funny you say that because my wife just reminded me, it's like, we had to upgrade, we had to update your passport. It's been almost 10 years. I go, man, we've been married that long already?
See,
So I was like, okay. So I said I am going to try to get up there soon to go visit them, and definitely going to shoot up there and say hi to them and see everything and taking a
mhm.
little sightseeing too,
uh,
Sleevy G style.
it's gonna be your first time in Canada, or
I haven't been to Toronto in many many of years. The last time I was there is the old Blue Jay Stadium was there.
oh, okay.
When the dome retracted that way, and they lifted up the dome from all the high tension wire. So that shows how long it's been for me.
Mhm.
But I always loved Toronto. I always loved Niagara Falls. But
Man,
we're here
it's called living life, man. That's
exactly.
awesome.
But I am from New Jersey, and I'm proud of it. Let's just say that. And our boy Kenny J's too from Jersey.
Absolutely. And then Jersey, in terms of the tri-state area,
Yeah.
Jersey is my second home because all the nights that we spent at the Peppermint Lounge in East Orange and
Oh, I remember that place.
so I got stories. That's all I got to say. Jersey's all right with me. I love Jersey.
Jersey's my hometown, and you know what? I'm proud to be a New Jerseyan, and I take everything to heart. I love the woods, but I'm still a New Yorker though. I feel like I've been a New Yorker.
Mm-hmm.
I love my Giants, I love my Rangers,
Mm-hmm.
and basketball is a whole different story. I'm not gonna.
That's a whole nother
I
department in terms of
I stopped
people. Like,
watching basketball many, many moons ago because I feel like the game has changed. It wasn't the time when Jordan, Bird, Kevin McHale, all those old school cats, even Kobe Bryant, you know what I mean? I'll even go up to Kobe.
those are my first two you just named, actually. Jordan and Bird are my top two of all my lists of the greatest to ever do it in the game.
Jordan, Bird, Spud
Bird,
Webb,
Bud
John
Webb, oh man.
Stops, Patrick,
Allen Iverson,
yeah, Allen Iverson,
he's
AI,
got a statue.
Allen Houston, Derek
Oh
Harper,
man.
Patrick Ewing, Anthony Mason. I
Ray
was a,
Allen, I mean, I
oh,
could go. I mean, like I
we could
said,
go
this
for
is
hours.
why we could go on and on because it's so crazy how when only the guys like us not call us the young OGs because we're from the era and people can say, oh, y'all guys. I'm like, yeah, because the thing is, in the last 5 or 6 years, and not counting the people who we've been seeing, like like your Kyries and what's my boy name from Curry.
LeBron. Oh, Curry. Yeah, Steph
Or,
Curry. Yeah.
like I'm like Curry. I said that's one of the. I mean, he's already in the top 20 as far as this last generation is
Yeah.
concerned. He's, so it's so many it's so many variables to it. It's same thing with football. Like it's so many people who we
Oh,
can name
yeah.
from our era that really, really took the game to another level and
Oh,
that we
yeah.
still get excited about even when we talk about them and
Oh, yeah.
they're retired now.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's kind of funny, because you're wearing the old school Chicago Bulls
yes,
shirt
indeed.
and a
Come on
hat.
now. Yep.
So
Oh, yeah.
I always liked the Chicago Bulls logo. First of all, it's a mean ass logo. That's
Yes.
one. Two, only reason I ever knew about Chicago Bull, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant,
Bill
Kevin,
Cartwright.
Bill
Come on.
Cartwright.
Come on.
These are the guys who I grew up
Jackson.
watching. You know what I mean? I'm a New Jersey guy. Hey, listen, the Knicks were one of my favorite teams too. The problem
Mhm.
I had is it's like, listen, just because I'm from Jersey doesn't mean I have to like the New Jersey Nets.
Yeah.
Doesn't
I
mean I have to like the
never
New York Knicks. One thing about basketball, I loved everybody. I,
mhm.
to be honest with you, when I stopped watching ball is when
When
when LeBron James made that whole thing, ESPN. I'm
yeah.
taking my talent. That's when I said this game just sucks now.
because it becomes more about the prospect and the aspects of the
Yeah.
thing outside that do help the sport in terms of the publicity, but
Yeah, the
then
publicity works great,
but for the game,
for the fans,
it takes away the value of why we would go to games. And just to give you an incentive,
mm-hmm.
for one of your next interviews, you should have my older brother Casino Chip come on, because he got a letter from Magic Johnson. And we all grew up with Jay-Z and Memphis Bleak, and so I know we're gonna get into that in the interview.
Yeah, definitely.
But we came up. So the thing is, but my older brother is what we call the official sports figure, because he was him and my cousin Omar Cook that played for the Denver Nuggets. So
yes, yeah.
I came up in it. So that's why I said if it's anything outside of music, it's definitely sports, particularly boxing, basketball, and football, and a little bit of baseball, because me and my younger brother played on the same league in our neighborhood. So the thing is, an encompassing part of what I would be doing besides being a lawyer if I didn't love music that much. And basketball is the only sport I couldn't play. I could shoot, but my handle was weak. But when it came to football and boxing, which I still do just for the fun of it, like it's literally the whole thing in retrospect to what we could have. So when you get a chance, you can bring him on your show, because
dude, I would love to talk to him.
And you know why he feels the same way you feel. Like he's like, oh, y'all cool, man. Fuck LeBron. Like my brother's very, very like he'll give you the breakdown, the rundown, because we truly live the game. Like he lives the game. Like he lives it.
Oh man, that I would definitely love to hook up with him and talk to him, because I'm a sports fanatic too. I love my football. I love my hockey. Even though
same here. Play hockey high.
I never played hockey. Hockey I played was street hockey, but I always watched the New York Rangers. My first game ever, my pops, I'm gonna thank him for it. Took me to my first Devil Ranger game when it was Brendan Byrne Arena in New Jersey.
Oh.
Yeah, I just took it back to you. I just took it back.
See, this is why we can't. Again, man, I get excited when I get with guys that actually you can talk about the sport. Yeah, you can talk about the sports with, because again, a lot of that play. I mean, I know we're gonna get into it, but a lot of that played into who I am as a performer and even as a songwriter, because the approach that you have to have is, especially in hip hop, because when I write rhymes for hip hop, I'm a battle warrior. So the thing is, I took on the characters of all the guys in every sport that I love that meant the most to me. So if we're talking about hockey, then we're talking about Wayne Gretzky. And David Kerr. Like we talking about the guys, like guys who I watched. We talking baseball. We've been talking Wade Boggs from Boston, or we talking about Don Mattingly from the Yankees. So for me, it's always the same approach when it came to the attack level I had in music. Because if you're gonna go, you got to go hard. We're from the era where you had to go hard to really prove your reputation of what you were as an athlete and as a team.
And that's the thing, you know what I mean? Like I grew up in that era too. I was born in '79. I grew up not in the best teams ever, but when I got to high school, something happened. I played football. I played American football. So when I played pigskin football, it was kind of funny. I gravitated to it. I never played a down in my life. I would play like pickup games with my boys. I was the running back because I was the biggest and I was the hardest to knock down. So when
that means you're a target.
Yeah, I was a target already.
Coming for your ass.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, there was times we were, you're talking tackle football. You're talking if there's no blood, you ain't playing fouls here.
Street ball, look, that's the way we played on concrete. And I grew up in St. Mark's Avenue, Brooklyn, Albany projects. We had to play on the Albany side because on St. John's that was the biggest field that we have, baseball field. But a lot of times we would play because there was more football being played than baseball.
Right.
And there's no grass over there. We had to, it was like gridiron. We had to.
I got discovered by my high school coach playing when I was in 8th grade, and I was playing with my boys, and I was just knocking heads down. He goes, "What grade are you?" I go, 8th grade. He's like, "Oh God, tell me you're coming here next year." I go, "Yeah." I said, I'm going to a Catholic grammar school, and a lot of my friends were public school too. So when I went, I didn't want to go to a Catholic high school growing up. I want to go to public school because all my friends were in public school too. So were my friends in high school. You know what I mean? In the Catholic high school, and I'm just like, all right, I'll see. I go, coach, if I make it, I'll come out and play. But I've never played organized football. I don't know. I don't wear shoulder pads. I don't wear pads. I don't wear a helmet.
Well, I mean, look. I mean, you got me. Look. That's when I get in the car with my friends. We all in the back. I'm the one that has to be outside because my shoulder game has always been what it's been. You know what I mean? Like, and this is before sports because once I
Yeah.
started working out, and the crazy thing is Hulk Hogan inspired my workouts when I was a kid because the thing is that I was kind of scrawny, but I could still throw. But I realized, okay, Lord, you can fight, but you know what? Get some more definition on your shoulders and your chest. So my mother bought me, I don't know if you remember the Hulk Hogan barbell set.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
My mother
And
bought that for me for Christmas. It was about what, look, 90, I'm gonna say 90, 91. And
91, I think it was. Either 90, 91 it came out. I
by the
remember.
time I got my weight up, you know what I mean? Because like I said, I could run. I was strong. I was scrawny, but I was strong. But I knew. And once I had the shoulders, and I look at some of my pictures now, and I'm like, he's like, well, you had them shoulders. I'm like, yeah, I'm looking it for my father. My father
Yeah.
had the broad shoulders. So the thing is, I want to add more definition because between boxing and playing football, I'm like, well, I don't want to be the hardest to knock down, but it served me when it came to football because me and my brother, my little brother Pepe, he was a shaker. He was like the
Yeah.
very much Walter Payton and Jerry, like very much,
Oof.
get up underneath you. And the thing is that I was the rusher because as soon as they see me, I would just go straight and they would try to be like, I'm gonna stop him. And then once I get to that point, they like, you know what? I'm moving out the way. I'm up like he about to
He's coming out like a freight train.
That's how I would get my touchdown. So I was a beast with it when it came to that.
Listen, one thing I learned about being a lineman is we never get the glory, but we always push everybody around to help out
Yeah.
the team. And that's the funny thing. Everyone talks about the running backs, the quarterbacks, and the tight ends and the receivers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny it was funny. It was offensive line international day. I think it was Friday.
Uh-huh.
And one thing my varsity coach told me, it's like, Gomez, you're a fool. I go, fool? You're gonna piss me off before the game? He goes, no.
Wow.
He goes,
that's water boy shit.
yeah. He goes, you know why I called you a fool? I go, no. He goes, you're part of the Federation of Offensive Linemen. I'm like, Coach, that's true. And he goes, do what you do now. And it was funny. I went to a small school, but man, we hit people. We would hit people hard.
No,
You know,
look,
one thing my coach said was,
uh-huh.
you know what it is when it's time to play the game. We never ran out. We walked. And
To
the
the
funny
wall.
thing,
Yeah, it's war
and it was,
time.
you know what's funny? It's like we had a time card. As soon as we passed the gate, right next to the goalpost, it's like we just punched in a time card. We put our paper and our lunch box under our arms, and we went to work. And that was
you know why? Because and I'm gonna say it respectfully for anybody that knows anything about us athletes and sportsmen. It's a battlefield, man.
It
Like
was.
the mentality I have, I'm a warrior, and especially because I'm from the street. So my whole mentality, even from a street level, but then now here we are playing sports, and even though everybody knows each other and it's the game, and very rarely did anybody ever get into any real tussles because we understood it from the perspective of, okay, you know you're my boy, right? But you know I'm gonna knock you the fuck down.
Exactly.
So it's almost like a thing as to where when nobody got mad. Even if you came in the house with a sprained shoulder or or your rib cage hurt a little bit, and I really had those problems. It was more so about me making sure that I can shake as hard as my younger brother, but my younger brother couldn't rush like me because he was so smaller than me. But he had an advantage at that point. So I learned a lot from my little brother as well as my older brother. I'm the middle. So the thing is for me, I had the best of both worlds because my little brother was a beast, and of course the older brother is the revered brother. So it's like you look at him like, we try to be like him too. So it all plays a part,
And it was funny because even I remember I took a good shot in the chest here, and my sternum. I couldn't breathe for shit. I was having trouble breathing. They had an oxygen. It's like, Gomez, we need you. I'm like, I can't do it. It's like, he goes, take the mask off. I go, what? Go do. Okay. With everything, I was in so much. I had to go to the hospital. I thought I broke the sternum. It was just badly bruised, but it was bruised enough that I couldn't breathe that night. And I'm just like,
it's all like 50 Cent said, it's all a part of the game, man.
it is part of the game. And no, and you know what? I never cried. I just sucked it up. I went back on that field. I was trying to win that game for us. I just said, run the ball over me. We're getting in there. We lost, unfortunately, but we did the best we could. You know what I mean? And that's one thing. If we did our best, then we know we laid it out there and we lost by a few points, I'm not going to be pissed. But if we never did it, I was going to be pissed.
This is really a great way to start the interview, man.
I love it.
That's why I knew when I got excited about coming on your show, man. Like I just was like, I said, he's like me, man. I said certain things in the aspects of sports and how they go together, and how music and sports have always had the greatest.
Had something togetherness, like what I mean. Like even when I remember Listen, I'm not a musician by heart, but when I know good
No, but
music,
you know music.
I
You have
know
to be.
music, and I'm not an encyclopedia music, you know what I mean? But I had a mix of rap, not rap, I should say hip hop and rock mix. Anytime I
The
would,
best mix.
so when my senior year came out, before iPods came out, Pete, kids, yes, we had something called compact disc players, CD players,
Yeah,
back in our
see,
day.
I still have mine. Look. I still have mine, bro.
And
Gotta get.
that's what it is. It's literally it's the video games of music, as I
I
called
had
it.
look. I had look. I'm upgraded. I have the MP3s. Them, because in the industry you have to do that anyway. But the thing is
Yeah,
just that I've always said it's called the balance. You should never be too old school where you don't appreciate and get into the new
yeah.
technology that helps things advance. But at the same time, you should never be so new school where you forget that iTunes and Apple Music don't have every album. So I have
No,
a lot of these and stuff that I'm glad I imported into my laptop here
yeah.
because of that I started doing. I'm like, hold up. See, they don't even have, like, for example, Anita Baker's fifth album called My Everyday. She has switched labels. They have every Anita Baker album
But
except
that
her.
one,
See what I mean? So I'm glad that I kept my CDs
yeah.
and I imported it into my thing so I can have it digitally, but I still have the old school format.
So everyone would laugh at me because I would lay down on the field with the music on
Mm-hmm.
and take a nap on so I would have my head literally on the 50-yard line on our side.
Uh-huh.
If the other team came early in the visitor side, I wasn't interfering them. So I literally would just lay there. People think I was dead because I actually had my arms like this, my eyes closed. And people go, the music is blaring. And my helmet and my shoulder pads were outside. And I
You
was
was in
already,
the zone. You was in the
uh,
zone. Ready.
so I was just like this. Everyone looked at me. I put my helmet on. That's it. Let's just go. It doesn't matter if I was the
You
captain
know
of
what
the
my
game
theme
or
song
not.
was? We're hitting the field. My theme song was Mean Streets by Van Halen.
Oh, nice. That's a great song.
That's I mean, I'm a supreme diehard Van Halen fan. So the thing is
Ours
for me.
was Noriega. What? When
Oh, damn. Okay, I'll try.
so we came out to that song.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Because it was just one of those beats our senior year. We agreed that it was that. That it
Mm-hmm.
was gonna be oh God, what the hell was it? It was a rock song I wasn't into, but I said if we gotta do something different, I go,
Mm-hmm.
everyone plays Guns N' Roses Welcome to the
To the
Jungle.
jungle. I love that song.
So do
It's my
I.
top 10. So
Yeah, same here. But you just don't. You're so tired of hearing it from other teams, and you know what I mean. And it's just
you
like
want to be different. I get it.
let's be different. Let's be
Mm-hmm.
Saint Mary. Like we're a Catholic school. I said so bleep out the damn curse words. We can figure that out ourselves.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So we came out. We were listening, and I was mumbling Noriega one practice. You know what I mean? For
Uh-huh.
a sit through a walkthrough, and I had my CD player, like just like this, one ear out, one ear in, so I could hear the music,
Mm-hmm.
but I could hear the coaches too.
Mm-hmm.
Because for some reason, with this and then listening to this, listening to my coach, I was able to comprehend everything.
Uh-huh.
They looked at me weird. I'm like, Coach, don't ask. It's just something I have to do.
It's a zone. When you're
It's a
in the
zone,
zone,
yeah.
that's what it is. You
So
can't deny that. So
So I started going, what, like mumbling like that, you know what I mean? As I'm waiting for my turn. I was like, what are you
mm-hmm.
listening to? I go, Noriega, Super Thug. Like, oh, hell yeah. Then the whole team goes, we want to hear it. So I put it on the seat in the main speakers in the gym, in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like, that's it. That's our entrance with that phone ringing. And then we changed like, you found St. Mary's where? In Rutherford. We changed it. And so
That's what makes, yeah, wow.
it was no disrespect, I mean, we had to make fit us. So it was funny how we put our high
It
school
fit
name
the
into
mood, man. It fit the mood.
it.
Bottom line.
It was just one of those things. Now, and listen, well, you have a history with music. First of all, I gotta say this: if anybody knows blues legend, Sam Bluesman Taylor was
Yes,
your grandfather.
yes. An avid sportsman himself. Because
Yes.
the thing about my granddad is that I mean he's the reason why we all box. All my nephews like Caleb and Aubrey and my cousin David Flatsparks, who has an amazing podcast called All Call Outs Mandatory. And he's been hanging out with Zab, all of us guys. We look at Zab Judah, Shannon Briggs. And my grandfather is definitely and rest in peace because he's in heaven now. But the
Yeah.
thing is, Golden Gloves. This is a man that gave up a flourishing boxing career to do music, and he would always say, "Well, the guitar don't hit me back, so I'm gonna go and work with that." So, but before my grandfather got deep into music, boxing, he trained with Papa Fly, who was Joe Lewis's trainer.
Oh, wow.
Oh, this is what I'm saying. Like my grandfather came up in the golden era of golden, and he won all of his fights. And the thing is that right around the time I think he was on fight 15, fight 16, and he's just like, I love the game, but I'd rather do music. So of course, growing up in gospel and blues, and he always had that. But the thing is, the active part of who he was maintained that all throughout the years, even in his older age, with us being his grandkids. The one thing, if he wasn't playing blues and burning it down and talking music history, we right in the living room watching. Like I remember one time my Uncle Kevin came here because he lives with me now. But my Uncle Kevin came here because he would never leave Brooklyn. But the one time he left Brooklyn to come see Granddad, his father, I went out to go do a show. 6 hours later, I come back. These two grown men are watching ESPN for damn near 10 hours.
Wow.
I said, see? So this is to give you an understanding of who he was and how my grandfather was, because he always kept the balance in his life. And I always felt like he felt like, man, what if I would have kept on boxing? Who I could. I said, well, you could have easily been champion middleweight or heavyweight. So the thing is, the music part always played the synergy. So how funny is it, the parallels in my own career, even though I ran track, of course, I just told you, I ran track, I played everything for basketball. And the thing for me was that I gave those passions up because I love performing. So I said, you know what? I'm going to keep the training regimen of everything that I do. And every now and then I'll get on the field and play sports with the guys. And my last time I did that, I was a school teacher. I was probably about 25. And as fun as that was, the young guy. So I'm just like, okay, now I see why I don't play anymore. I said, not because anything, because I realized if I'm going to have any type of bang ups or anything, I'd rather be on stage, because you can always recover from performing on stage. And I never really had it until like probably 4 years ago. That was the first accident I had. And it wasn't while I was performing, it was while I was walking. So the crazy shit is that I literally knew that, but look how fast I healed. And then my doctor said to me, the reason why you healed so fast is because you're in great shape. And I say to myself, I'm like, that's because I gave up sports at the right time, in terms of just to focus on strictly dancing and choreography. Because even when you see my clips on my show, like, physical. And the thing is that I don't hurt after the show. I'm not like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in good shape. So for me, it's like, but if I would have banged my body up, because you know how it is when you bang your body, it would be just that. So my grandfather really set the tone with his work with Etta James and the Ozzy brothers when they were a trio, Aretha Franklin, and I really became my grandfather's twin. So my older brother always be like, we said, well, Law's a favorite, because him and Granddad are both Scorpios. So a lot of things that we had in common on a similar level, because me and my older brother, like, we grew up with him the most. Like, we toured with him. We even had groupie situations with Granddad. So it's like certain things, I'm talking about like certain things that caliber as a kid. And I can honestly say respectfully, no one could tell me different. I had the coolest grandfather in the world, man. You learn about music, you learn about life at the same time. And then, I mean, I don't smoke weed, but all my brothers and my cousins do. So all the stories that they have about being able to smoke with their uncle and their granddad at such an age, where my grandfather, he was a free spirit. He gave us a lot of freedom. And I did that with my own kids in terms of freedom. I learned be a disciplinarian and be a great parent that don't take no shit, but also allow them to get the kind of freedom that we actually had to fight for. And my grandfather was a catalyst in that, because he was just very, his main thing was, he go on the road and we didn't go with him. He's like, all right, just don't run up my phone bill. I'm like, okay, we got to watch our phone bill. Just little stuff like that. So,
I remember those days.
As a blues legend, we come to the house. BB King would be at the house. Albert Collins would be at the house. And this just for me, it sparked. I mean, it already had the spark, but it sparked something in me, like, my granddad is really the shit. Like, and then and the last thing, when it really went over the top for me, when we had a show in New York. At that point, I'm playing with my grandfather's band when I'm not with P Funk and all these other guys who I work with. And we go for a break. We had 2 sets. So we go for a break, the intermission in between the one, and we come back. So me and my brother went to go get something to eat. And we came back. It was this club called the Terror Blues, right next door to the Bitter End.
Okay.
And literally, we walk up in there. So there's this crowd around my grandfather's table. You know, the merch is over there. I usually run the merch. So like,
yeah, right.
So oh wow, okay, they must be excited. And then we go over there, and guess who's sitting there with him? Vincent Spano from Big Pussy from The Sopranos.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Now that was my show, and I'm like Gramps, and I'm sitting there. They just sitting there all cozy talking. And I'm like, he said, "It's my grandkids." Vince. I'm like, I said, "Hold on." Me and my brother's like, "Yo, Gramps, how you know that?" And then Vince was like, "Well, your father back in the days, your grandfather used to sleep me in the club back in Jersey." I'm like, I learned something about at the Peppermint Lounge. I learned something about my grandfather every day. And that moment, we were like, we always knew Gramps was, that's the coolest grandfather in the world. But that shit right there, because at the time, Sopranos was hot.
Yeah, it was.
So I'm like, and that was our show. Like, we love the Sopranos. I'm like the biggest gangster in the world, Al Capone. So like anything that reminded me of that as the old mafioso guys, because that's the way we kind of grew up in terms of the way we move. And the thing is that I've always admired that. I'm not saying what they did was right. I'm just making a point. Saying we moved that way. So for me, seeing my granddad and seeing Vincent tell the story about my grandfather sneaking him and Joe Pesci in the club, I'm like, this is mind blowing. So
I actually got to meet Robert De Niro on set.
Oh wow!
Because of my dad. So we went to the city, and he was taping A Bronx Tale.
Oh,
and we saw him and Chaz Palmeri, and they took a picture. We took a picture of all 4 of us.
You have it? It's up?
I have it, but it's one of those stored items. I have it framed and stored because I lost my dad a long time ago.
God bless.
Yeah, so I know what you went through. I lost my dad was my brother, my best friend. My dad rolled up in one. My mother was like me and my mom were tight, but me and my dad were tight like brothers from N and N. Like
and I'm the opposite because I'm really a daddy's boy. People are like, oh, mama's boy. I'm like, I was a daddy's boy, but the thing is that but my dad didn't sing. He gave up his drum career to help raise me. So the thing is, my mom was after she had me. My mom was writing for Popular Science magazine and during the daytime, and then she was in the nightclubs. And then when she won first place at the Apollo, which was the day that I discovered these 5 white guys from Boston named New Kids on the Block. They were at the time, they weren't hot yet. They were bubbling. They were bubbling. And the right stuff, I think I just either came out as a single or Please Don't Go Girl. But you gotta remember,
I think it was the right stuff and then Please Don't Go Girl.
It wasn't until the Florida radio station played Please Don't Go Girl, and that's when they exploded. But they was already making their rounds between Boston and New York. So the thing is that being in that moment. So me and my mom were already. So I'm a mama's boy in that aspect where because we sing together, and that's your mom because your mom made sure it was cool, and dad made sure things were cool too, even though they weren't together. But the thing is that I became the total opposite of your situation. So that's my hero, but mom that's my everything.
She's everything. Oh no, listen, my mom. Listen, after my pops died, my mom needed help. I was there for her throughout the thick and thin.
Mama, man, that's mama.
And then that's something you'll never forget. And the funny thing is, we were just talking about that New Kids on the Block, and I said, man, if I get anything to meet Donnie Wahlberg, that was my dude. I always liked him, even his brother Mark, even when he was with the Funky Bunch, which is funny.
Oh yeah, that's Donnie and Jordan are my top. I love all of them, but Donnie and Jordan were always my top 2 favorites. Because in every for me, in every group, as a singer and as a performer, I've always studied. See, a lot of guys, for example, perfect to kind of segue into that.
Yeah,
I love all 6 Jackson brothers. I was never just because the thing is that when you're the lead singer, it's easy. You're going to get the majority of the attention. That's just what it is. And the thing is that, of course, like any other young Black, white, and Hispanic kid, you couldn't keep your eyes open. Michael just had Michael just had look, but that's why his brothers made him. That's why his brothers made him the leader, because he had that sort of magic that drew you into the whole thing that they were putting together. So for me, any R&B pop group or rock group, I've always tend to pay attention to the guy who was either singing in front, but then I would also study all the other members to find out how vital their roles were. So for me, in New Kids on the Block, Donnie was number one for the simple reason that he not only sang, but he rapped too, and he can dance. That's
And
me.
that's the
I'm
one
all
thing.
three.
And that was one thing I liked about Donnie. Yes, he could sing, but he also could throw that hip hop down, and he could dance like his ass off. And to be
Yeah.
honest with you, and one thing is, I love him as an actor too, because I loved watching Blue
Oh,
Bloods.
great. No, incredible actor. And I'm not saying that because that's my best.
No,
I'm
no,
saying
no,
that
no. But
it's real. You know what I mean? Incredible actor.
He's one guy, if I ever got to meet anybody like famous like that, he would be the one guy I would love to meet, because he's an incredible actor. He's an incredible father to Jenny's kids. You know what I mean? It just
Man,
a lot of things I love about him.
let me say this about Mr. Donnie Wahlberg, or as we like to say, Donnie fucking Wahlberg. I say that with heart because,
Right.
you know, back then when I got into New Edition and New Kids on the Block,
Mm-hmm.
to me, when people be like, Lord, you can see the influence and when we do certain routines and stuff like that. And I combine all of that in there. Because to me, growing up, before I knew them personally, I'm still a kid. They're older than me. I'm only 9 years old. They were my big brothers in my head. And because I have a big brother, I understood it. Like when Jordan, like Jordan and John's relationship, because John's the older brother.
Yeah.
So the thing is that I understood the dynamic. And for me, even though Prince, Michael Jackson, James Brown, Stevie Wonder, Marcy and the Time, Jimi Hendrix, those are my first primary idols, but they were all grown-ups. So when you see kids that are close to your age doing what you do, it sparks something else. Because one thing when I grew up around OGs, my Brooklyn Funk, Brass Construction, Mandrill, Crown Heights Affair. These are all the groups from the 70s that came from Brooklyn. These are all my mother's friends. So I grew up in that part of it, but they were all grown-ups. I'm the only 9-year-old talking about guitar strings with William Anderson, who was a leader of Crown Heights Affair. But then I felt good, but I'm like, ain't no kids around my neighborhood play guitar or understand or dance the way I do. And it wasn't. So when I saw New Edition and New Kids on the Block, I'm like, oh shoot! Like and now I want to get in the talent show. Now I really want to show off my talent because I'm like, I see kids that look like me now. So it gave me a thing. So I told my mother when I was 12, 13, I said, I'm gonna meet New Kids one day. I said, I want to work with them. And then because we grew with them. Like when you're a fan of your group, you grow with them as they evolve. And we watch New Kids evolve and they get to the Face the Music album, which to me was at that point their greatest work because they had matured so much in their sound and their look and the whole thing. And then I finally made an official entry into the industry thanks to the great Jimmy Henchman, Jimmy Rollins. Wow. That's a whole other story. And that's my dude to this day. And I like to do with Jimmy. And the first thing I wanted to do, I'm like, well, you know what? I got my artist thing ready. So I got Law and the Bionic Idiots before it became the Planetary Movement. So it was like us. And then I'm like, I want to produce and write. I said, you know what? I want to work on New Kids on the Block next album. But then unfortunately, they broke up. Yeah. So 20, 30 years later,
they're 20, back.
More 20 years, they come back. And who would have ever thought that because of the way the internet is and because of the fact that I've never, ever let my dream die of meeting all 5 of them, but particularly, especially Donnie, because I needed Donnie to understand how much he directly influenced me and how much we are alike. And then here's the kicker. Watch this. Once me and him became close, we realized just how much alike we really were.
That's amazing.
We had the same favorite cereal, Frosted Mini Wheats. Who you couldn't even. I'm like, this is crazy. I had to show. I literally we FaceTime each other one day. I literally took him into my to show him my cereal collection. He was like, "What?" I'm like, "See," I said, "So now you know how." And that's the reason why because a lot of people always wonder, besides the music, how me and him really became close. I said because the thing is, even all that time, I still looked at him and the rest of the guys again as before we got close as my big brothers in my head. So the thing is for me. Now that we actually hanging out, and as you know, we're about to work on some stuff together. And of course, if I don't have my own shows, y'all see me at the New Kid shows hanging out. I'm just like, oh Lord, you're gonna bring me up on stage? I'm like, no, I'm not. I said, listen, if my brothers want to bring me up on stage, That's totally up to them. But guess what? I'm like, y'all, I'm here to enjoy the show.
Right. I mean,
I'm still look, school's in, classes in session. I'm still
I,
here taking
I'm
notes
still
30
learning.
years
I'm
later.
still learning.
Still
I'm
learning.
40 years old. I'm 44 years old. I'm still learning.
Still learning. Yeah.
I'm
I'm
still
still
learning the game. Like
I took every routine from them that I could. I know all their routines. I'm sitting here saying they found better ways to do it at the stage and age where they're at. But the thing is, for me, and because of the choreographers that they work with, shout out to Sonny and Kat, like they have awesome choreographers. I'm looking at, let me see. And then a lot of times when people ask me, can you give us an insight on what the next tour is going to be like? I said, honestly, the funny thing is that, because I know I usually know more about what's going on than most of the average fan.
right.
But here's the thing. I tell them all the time, y'all don't understand. I could call Donnie right now and ask him any question I want about what he's doing for this tour, and he will tell me and show me. But here's the thing. There's no fun in that, because the thing is, I like to be surprised like everybody else too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's my big brother. I'm like, I text him. I'm like, dude, I can't wait to see what y'all do at this next tour. And you don't even have to. You don't even have to tell me. Now, mind you, he's not obligated to. So he'll send me, like, every now and then he'll tell me certain things about certain tours that happen. Of course, I don't say anything, but it's just more so like the thing is to where, because Donnie's creative mind is such a incredible thing to watch. When he puts his heart and his mind to whatever he wants to do, he do it. And I'll sit there, and the two greatest part for me is watching the stage setup and watching the fans sing every word. And I'm sitting, and a lot of time I'm not even pumping my fist like this all the time, because I'm just standing there like, that's my big brother. He makes me proud. Like, he really makes me proud to just still be able to do all that.
Right. For me, when I used to go to shows a lot, one of my favorite bands until this day was Linkin Park. And when we lost Chester, that was like that. Just that put me
was
into
hard.
that was just so a huge loss. And to this day, I still listen to their music. I still love their albums.
As you should.
And one thing it's funny, like you said, I listen to everyone in the band, not just Shinoda, not just Chester, but I'm listening to Mr. Hahn in the DJ background. I'm listening to their drummer to hear the beat. I'm listening to the basses and the guitars. Because one thing I've learned about music, even though I'm not a musician, is it's not just about the words, but it's also how they sing the words, how they're harmonizing the words, how the bass is hitting at that point, or when the drum is hitting. That's where I find the interesting thing. So if you told me, yo, Gomez, I'm going to take you to a new kids on the block and I'm going to introduce you to them. I'll be like starstruck one. That I'm not going to lie. I'll be starstruck and probably the wrong word.
Let me cut you off. It's good to hear another man say this, because the conversations I have often about, they be like, the best part about watching Law, besides him doing his thing, is Law still fans out over his heroes. When you see the pictures and videos of me, like when I work with Lionel Richie, and that's, Lionel Richie's in my phone. I speak to Lionel like at least.
And I was just about to bring him up too. Like
you can bring him up.
You've worked with Lionel Richie. I grew up listening to his music. You know what I mean? Like, I loved him. I still do to this day. And he's doing awesome. I think he's on American Idol right now.
Listen, Lionel he'll be 74 this year, I think.
And he looks like he's 50.
Lionel, because here's the thing about Lionel. Because the thing is, you have to love, and mind you, Lionel's human. He's been through a lot of shit like everybody else. But the thing is, you have to have a passion and a love for who you are and what you do. And it shows every time Lionel steps on that stage, because most guys his age can barely walk. So the thing is, see him shout I used to imitate him a lot. He used to do this one thing where he just kind of sways and be one. I get all that from him. Like, when they see me do that, I said, I get that from him. I said, because the thing is, as a diehard Commodores fan, and then of course when he went solo, you studied all the degrees of what his career was. And the thing about Lionel is that Lionel didn't let people define him. He defined who he was. And the thing is that he didn't sit there, like he told me all the time. He said, Lawrence, I didn't go into the room and say, I'm going to make a pop record. I just literally said, I'm going to do music that feels good for my spirit, whether it's funk, R&B, pop, country, because he's from Alabama, he's from Tuskegee. The thing is that a lot of people, especially in the Black community, a lot of people are like, oh, he's a sellout. I'm like, yeah, you're damn right he's sold out. He sells out every damn arena he plays in.
Exactly.
What do you mean sellout? I said, he's always done music from the heart. So even if you think it's on the ceiling, it's cheesy. But for the 80s era, for us growing up, that was the coolest thing in the world, to see Lionel Richie dancing on.
Dancing on the ceiling.
You know what I mean? But our era, listen, give me, and I say this respectfully, give me that era any day over all this new shit where it's too contrived and people got to fight and just to get likes and views and comments on their posts. Where we come from the era where you didn't just say the shit, you showed and proved. That's why a song like Taylor Dane, when she first came on this, and look at Taylor still looks amazing, still got her voice. Taylor's the shit because everybody took the notion to say, you know what? If we're going to keep doing this, let's take care of ourselves and our bodies and do it in the best way we can. Because like I said, none of us are perfect. Do it the best way that we can. But the thing is, Lionel Richie, you know, I won talent shows singing Penny Love. So driving my grandmother and my uncle crazy, waking up, trying to get all of his actions in terms of how he sings it. And to go from that, and I told my mother at 12 years old, I'm going to meet Lionel Richie one day and I'm going to work with him. So imagine me bringing my mother to Radio City Music Hall to meet her favorite Commodore. That was my gift to my mother. What, 4 or 5 years ago? So I got, you know, she nursed me back to health when I got hurt. And Mom, I got the greatest gift for you. And boy, you know, to see Lionel, I'm just gonna give you this story. To see Lionel tell my mother, so Miss Sandra, listen, you know, he's still country. I love him. He's still country. Miss Sandra, look at here. Your son is the truth. That boy is bad. You raised a fine young man in terms of his, you know, just character. But when that boy get on stage, man, he's on fire, man. When we had that moment on stage, I sang all night long with him at one of the corporate gigs that we did together. And then the thing is that not only that, but then we hit him with Fancy Dancer, and he stood up. That's the Commodore's funk. I said, see, we're gonna go to the album cuts. I said, see me. I'm a true Commodore's fan, not just to be close to you and eat like Sunday morning. Yeah. I'm a diehard. So we're gonna go deep. We're gonna go there. Lionel stood up and had his hands raised, like, Law, you done really. So in that moment between me and my idol, it's like, you know what? You can never live any of that down. So going back to what you said and connecting with Lionel Richie, is I'm a grown ass man, but that kid that bought those records and studied the videotapes every time Lionel did the Hello video, anything like that. I studied all of that. So for him to still be here and for me to come into the extreme super duper prime of my career and things that are happening for me now, and getting to work with the men and the women who inspired me. And even if we don't work together, just for me to give them flowers. Yeah. Anyway, because they got to understand how much they meant to me. Like when I hung out with Debbie Gibson, I said, you know, the funny thing is that my favorite album of yours is the one that sold the least, which is Anything Is Possible. And she gave me the biggest hug for that. She's like, you know, that's actually my favorite album. And I said, yeah. I said, you know what? Because the industry was different. I said, but it's funny because she said, but now all the fans, they call out songs from that album at my show. So the thing is that it must have made her feel good to know that the stuff that she recorded that wasn't as popular as the first 2 or 3 albums is that you were at home listening. And then my sister, her mom is from Brooklyn. So there you go.
There you go. So like for me growing up, you know, I didn't get into the hip hop era until like the early 90s, like the 1990s. So for me, you know what I mean, listening to early school Dr. Dre, Easy, NWA, Ice-T.
Yes.
LL Cool J.
My big bro as well. Ice-T. I'm close to Ice.
So all these guys who I mentioned, it's funny that I remember listening to this music. Now, first of all, Dr. Dre, phenomenal when it comes to putting music together.
Man, don't get me started.
Yeah, I mean, like, I love, you know, when he came out with Ain't Nothing But a G Thing, and the story with it was great. But Let It Ride, where
first time we heard Snoop.
Yep, that was the first time Snoop was brought in. You know what I mean? And that's something that, like, the song was just so amazing. But one of the songs that really always intrigued me was Let It Ride.
Oh, well, I mean, for obvious reasons, that connects to me too. Because
well, that's the thing, you know, with P-Funk right there, the music from one of the P-Funk tracks, he dropped right in there. You know what I mean? It just made it sound. And his words, nobody else, just his words was amazing. You know what I mean? Like, I listened to LL Cool J. I've listened to OPP, not Naughty by Nature, OPP, you know.
All Jersey, come on.
Yeah, you know, Biz Markie. You know, Lords of the Underground out of Newark, New Jersey too. You know what I mean? With TikTok, all these old hip hop Jersey songs. Queen Latifah too. I gotta give a shout out to her.
Oh man, don't get me started. I used to party with Queen Latifah in the Peppermint Lounge. Like I said, man, my boy Cam Jones. That's the son of the legendary Shirley Jones from the Jones Girls. He said Law has the most amazing stories because when you live that life, it's official and people want to hear it. Because imagine being on a Thursday night when my ass should be getting ready for school.
Right, you were there.
And here I am on a Thursday night at the Peppermint Lounge in Jersey. Naughty by Nature's up in here with 200 of their goons. They roll deep. They roll deep. They all hang, and then the nicest guys in the world. Like we all hanging out, and we having fun, but we still street. And then Queen Latifah comes in, and I'm on the dance floor. I'm next to her. I'm like, oh shit, what up, La? Like, and again, a lot of my friends, besides my cousin, like they didn't have that experience. So when we tell these stories, even the time when I met, you know who, when I met, we were the house band for Jordan's birthday party. So being able to sit with him, and then Barkley and Oakley and all the OGs come in. I'm like, you know how that felt, because we were able to express and represent for our hood in Brooklyn. Because in Brooklyn, like I said, it was all about balls. So the thing is that to be able to speak on behalf of all of my cousins, my little nephews, all my OG uncles that never left the hood, but when they see me, when we have pictures with Charles Barkley and stuff, it's just like, just to see Law hanging out with the guys that we watched on television, that's success for us, because they knew that everywhere I went, I took my block with me out of respect and knowing I'm like, listen, everything that I became as an athlete, what I learned and musically, it's because of being here. So imagine being that young kid and you get to actually, as a grown man, sit with your heroes. Not to mention, since you're talking about hip hop, not to mention the majority of most of the greatest hip hop acts from New York City, especially from my side of town, that all became famous. These are guys who I went to school with. These are guys that I would see in the street. Everybody from Boot Camp Clique. Those are all my guys. Boot Camp Clique, the majority of them was part of a gang called D-Seps. So I knew them on a street level before I even knew that they could all rock. And Smooth the Hustler, Trigger the Gambler. Those my family. Like, these are guys, that's Browns. That's what Mike Tyson.
So freaking awesome.
So I grew up in all that. So these are guys who I saw on it to this very, and we're all still close to this very day. Every time that Boot Camp has a show somewhere, it's like a fucking family reunion, because I see guys from my high school that all used to either work for them or guys that we knew. Like I said, we all knew each other's mother, we knew each other's cousins and shit. And it's a street thing. So a lot of times when we doing music, it'd be like, Lord, man, you still can do the splits. We saw that video with you. I'm like, your Lord still can move like that. And I love it, because I'm like, if it's anybody, and my fans will tell you, if it's anybody that can tell you the best Law stories from my junior high to my high school years, it's those folks, because they were around. And I don't run from it, because it's old school. It becomes a part of your lineage, especially with hip hop, because hip hop is the essence of the streets. That's what the culture started in the Bronx. So the thing is, and it spread throughout the 5 boroughs, and we became adjusted. It became the sound, like just how Motown was the sound of Young America. 20 years before that, hip hop became that later for us. Rap,
I mean, the stories, like you said, how the songs were then, and the hip hop back in the the old school OG hip hoppers,
absolutely,
to the new hip hoppers of today. This is where I listen to the old stuff, and I listen to it because there was a story to tell.
Absolutely,
There were beefs between hip hop artists. There will always be beefs, but there was a story. One of my favorite always was LL Cool J versus Cannabis. Well, that's one of my favorite ones, because it was just
that's in my top 10 actually.
It's in my top 5 actually.
LL is the majority, because LL was the most wanted man, and it took years for Ice-T because I never knew what the beef was between those two and Ice-T, and that's why I love it. That's my big brother, so I'm very close to Ice. So we talk about this all the time. Ice-T kept it 1,000. He's the OG for real. He said,
"Oh, he is."
Honestly, he said, what was this beef? He said, to be honest with you, I started it. And he said, because you gotta remember, in hip hop's competitive sport, and at that time I'm feeling myself 6 in the morning, it's hot. I'm like, if we're gonna start a battle, let's go for the top dude's neck. And of course, at that point, LL was the guy to beat. Solo, no crew, no real crew outside of his DJ and his hype man. So LL was the guy to beat, because LL exuded confidence that a lot of other guys didn't really have. And he could. He had the body that the girls like, and he can rhyme. He's nice on the microphone. So he was hated on. So a lot of dudes started with him, because they were like, who does this LL think? I'm gonna diss him on record. And of course, LL had to serve him, Hammer, and Cannabis, and Kumo D. So the thing is that battle between him and Cannabis was the most important one, because the thing is that you gotta remember, this is the new generation, and LL kept it real too. LL was like, Cannabis definitely caught me off. He said, I had the victory, but he caught me off guard because I'm over here making movies. I'm living my life. Because at that point, I'm thinking, like, who's going to test me after all this time? And they had a legitimate beat because Cannabis felt like LL made him change his verse. Like, why you got to make me change my verse? And then LL's like, dude, this is my record. And that's LL Cool J. He said, no, you want to borrow the mic off my arm? He's like, no. Be glad that you're on the fucking record. And Cannabis, like a young warrior Cannabis is, Cannabis took it to heart. He's like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm on the road. You don't want me to shine. And that was a battle because you remember, Cannabis is not Kumo D or Hammer. Cannabis is next level lyricism, the type of rhyming that me and my boys were doing. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, I'm not doubting LL for nothing, but LL know he gonna have to come with some. He can't come with no regular shit against this guy.
Nah, and I remember that beef because I remember
and LL actually he succeeded, but LL kept it real. He said, I succeeded. I felt like I could have done a little bit better, but the fans don't lie and the streets don't lie either. Everybody was like, Cannabis came hard, but LL won Battle of the Beats. And you gotta remember, back then, Battle of the Beats was fair and square. And if the streets were talking, it was it. And you saw what happened, because if Cannabis really won, LL career, that's how the game is won. In a real rap battle, the winner is the person who can obliviate their opponent to the point where you don't even see them again.
Exactly.
It didn't happen. How look, that's why I felt like, Nas won the battle against Jay-Z. But here's the thing. Nas ended up signing to Def Jam when Jay-Z was still present. So at the end of the day, it's like, you won the battle, but in a lot of different ways, you kind of lost the war. Because the thing is that how interesting is it for you to beat the guy who was unbeatable at that point, and then next thing you know, now you on his record label, and mind you, to us as hip hop, this is all just fun and games. So the thing for us that we saw that, but the thing is that Nas didn't obliviate Jay-Z's career. Jay-Z kept going up and up. Jay-Z didn't have a no job after that.
One of my favorite songs from Nas. Nas. I love all his music.
I love all of them.
And Jay-Z, one of my favorites to this day is Dead Presidents. I gotta hear that song at least once a day.
You know the song. I'm feeling it on the first.
On top of Mo.
Jay-Z mentions my brother in that song.
Does he really?
When he says all the blocks I used to kill with Chip.
Oh shoot! I didn't even realize that. So there you go.
That's Marcy. That's all Marcy. You gotta remember, like I knew Bleak. I remember Bleak had a video of him right, like a little bit right before he got with Jay, because you know the story between all of them. And then Sauce Money, who's like my big brother, same thing with Sauce. Sauce Money's older brother Maverick used to be in a singing group with my mother and my other famous cousin Cheryl Pepsi Riley, who's known for her work with Tyler Perry. So these are all, like I said, I got it honestly. So I grew up, but this is all Marcy, Crown Heights, Bed-Stuy. Like this is the whole Brooklyn.
This is the whole Brooklyn world. Yeah,
it's a Brooklyn thing. So the things that when people, so a lot of times I sit back and I just watch people attempt to tell me or attempt to say what they think they know about Sean Carter. I grew up with them, so I know. That's why nobody can tell me about Bleak and all those things. My brother still talks with Bleak. So my thing is like, y'all sound real stupid on these blogs talking about shit that y'all have no clue about, and y'all sit there looking stupid. Meanwhile, the direct insight has always been that, because we were there when Rockefeller first started. We were there at the Ark. The Ark is an old Brooklyn club in Flatbush. Yeah, we were there when ain't no nigga first blew up. And that was the record that really put him on the map. Not that.
Yes.
Thing is that
no, ain't no nigga was the one that
When that record blew him up, everybody's like, "Oh, Jay-Z, this shit." And we sitting there like, "You just now figuring that out? You don't understand." Jay-Z is an old school dude with new school fame. I said, because you gotta remember, when he came out with that record, he was 27, 28 years old. And at that point in hip hop, it's a stupid ass rule about age, but at that point, if you're 28 and you come out with a record that's actually hot, that's like second win, because Jay already had records out. As you know, Jay already had records out. But the thing is that even at that time period, it was different because Jay learned from, of course, and here's the thing, Jaz-O, his mentor. Jaz-O produced my cousins, The Council. Not only did he produce them, Jaz-O used to play ball with my Uncle Kevin in Kingston Park.
And then it just...
This is all... that's why I said, get deep into it. It's so many stories I can tell. Me and Jaz-O had our daughters on the same day at the same hospital.
Oh shit.
Now, mind you, that's my supreme OG because he's close to my uncle's age. So the
Yeah.
thing is that Jazzo. So when him and Jay finally mended fences for like 4 or 5 years ago, I would that made my spirit scream so loud. I'm like, thank you, because God forbid if either one of them would have left this earth early without mending and solving their issues and things like that. Because I never got involved. I'm like, I don't like to see my brother. These are two of my idols from Brooklyn. I don't like to see them fighting and arguing over stupid
Yeah.
shit that happened. And the thing is that those things teach you a lot about the history of not only Brooklyn culture, but hip hop culture, because everybody had these concepts and had these thoughts about Jay that they knew nothing about. I'm like, y'all don't understand how the game works, and nor do y'all really know, because we were, look, before Jay became billionaire whole, we were there. Like, we saw
He
as
was
it was
hustling,
happening,
man.
and then he was exactly, and then we
He
were
was
making.
hustling.
Well, you gotta remember, Jay, Tata, Tata's right hand man. They all used to. That's Tata was the one that would bring Jay to the battles. I went to battle Jay, like Tata be like, I'm gonna let Jay know.
Yeah.
These are, every time we see each other, you gotta remember, every time that we run into each other, it's a family reunion. Just recently, Tata and my brother, they haven't seen each other. It's probably been about a good 4 years. The last time I partied with Jay and Tata was when I sang backup for Amy Winehouse.
And that's something that was so cool.
Yeah, see what I mean? So all those things relate because there's a history behind them and there's a story to tell, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's something I love because, again, well, you're so raw, you're so true. You know what I mean? And that's what I love.
Thank you.
When Katrina goes, I'm so excited about this. When she emailed me, she goes, she was like, Alex, because Alex is my first name, and Gomez is my last name, but I use Gomez as everyone. That's how everyone knew me as.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So when she goes, Alex, I'm so excited, and reading her email was so exciting, and I'm like, just sign me up. Don't even have to ask. Just put it towards me.
And I appreciate that because, again, I say this all the time because, I went through periods, and social media is a great world, but it is a marketing tool, nothing less. And the thing is, a lot of times you run into suspicious characters and people that question your credibility. And then when they see you talking the way that I talk with such confidence and such passion, being in the game, you get labeled, oh, he thinks he's all that. I said, no, I know I'm all that. I said, and they don't like those rebels. It's like, oh, I said, no, y'all don't understand the life that I live. Y'all don't understand that how I grew up. Y'all don't understand that to be a Brooklyn hood boy from the streets of St. Mark's Avenue, ghetto, hood, slums, you name it, whatever you want to define it as, to go from that to living my dream. I'm my own boss. And that's another reason why I get mad too, because when you're your own boss, you can't understand the opinions of a man that has to get up and punch the clock every day. And nothing wrong with people that punch, just so be clear. Nothing wrong with people that have day jobs. But I always tell people, get your bills paid. But if you're not living your dream, you're gonna be paying bills forever. You're gonna be look, the people who are rich and got money, all the celebrities who got money, they have to pay bills too.
Oh yeah, they do.
The lifestyle got money. I'm like, they still have to pay for that. So the thing is that it's no different from us, and that's the reason why they shouldn't look at their nose down on anybody, because the thing is that people understand that. But the reason why I have to say it for myself is because you gotta remember, my god brother Humsey got shot in his face in front of our building, right when my grandmother was in church. I mean, this is years ago, but
still,
but you get it.
Sorry, bro. You know what I mean?
But you get it. But you get it. You understand.
Yeah.
So the thing is that when you see me celebrating and turning up and having fun, is because me and my family, we escaped. Well, most of my family did. Like we escaped.
Right.
We got out. And the thing is that, I'm going to talk my shit. I'm going to tell these kind of stories that people want to hear because it's fascinating to them. And because if you don't tell your story, others will try to tell it for you because they'll base it upon what they think they know about you based upon a damn Instagram post. They don't know a thing about you. That's why you see when my real people come in that know me for over 20, 30 years, I say, yo, follow these people, because if there's one person that can tell you the best law stories, it's that guy. It's my ex-girlfriend or somebody that grew up or knew me when I was a kid. So or when we were teenagers. And the thing is, it's important to have platforms like this where we're able to express ourselves and we go from a wide range of everything, so people get to know me more personally besides just the music, because you understand how much of sports and different aspects play in my career. One of my fans is like, yo, Lord, I had no idea you were a diehard wrestling fan. I said, are you kidding me? We went to Saturday's Night Main Event. Are you kidding me? That's the culture for us.
And even when Raw was War, back in the day in the Manhattan,
Come
bro.
on, man. You
We were,
preach to the choir again.
yeah,
That's the stuff that we, my younger brother, you couldn't tell this motherfucker that he wasn't Ultimate Warrior. When we would do Coco Livio, it's like, yo, Peppy, come outside. Damn, that Peppy would run, my little brother, my little brother would run outside ready to
love it.
see what I mean. So that's how you know how much of the cultures of the things that we love played into who I am as a person. Not just the nostalgia part, but just as you see how it falls into my music.
Yeah. Without
Yeah,
and your music too is so inspiring, but also you have
thank you.
the stories to the music. That's the hip hop I love. That I could sit down and I could when I hear the beats and all that, that's all great. But it's with the words that's coming out of your mouth though. That's the key for me.
Well, it's like
What you're
like
singing.
Jay-Z said.
Yeah.
If you talked about if you couldn't you say what you did it. Couldn't talk about it if you ain't lived it. That's why if you listen to my music, I can talk about drug hustling because I seen it up front, but I never sold a drug in my life. So I'm
Right.
not going to sit here and pretend like I'm hustling. My brother's hustling. You know what I'm saying? My cousin's hustling. So I knew the game. I saw it up front. So the thing is that, but you're not going to see me on wax talking. Eventually I do what Ice-T did. I'm
Mhm.
selling dope. He's what's the song? I'm your pusher. I'm not
I'm your
pushing
push.
drugs. I'm pushing music. I'm selling dope at each and every record store. That's
Yep.
me. But the thing is, for me, people connect with it because I'm still am who I am. I grew up in the environment. So I grew up around the hustlers, the pimps, and I grew up around that. So for me, it's easy for me to delve into that and speak on it because I saw it up front with my own eyes. So I could sit there and write a song about growing up in the ghetto, watching the hustlers move and watching how things and watching how crack changed my neighborhood. But then again, I got to also focus on how good it was growing up in the hood because we have more good times than bad. So for us, we're able to talk about, I've been clubbing since I was 13, 12 years old. So I'm able to talk about like, what was that like? People, you couldn't even be, how was you allowed in the club at 13 when the rules was 21 and 18? I said, well, when you have a famous grandfather and an uncle and you're not drinking, they let you in. So the thing is, on the West Coast, the East Coast, we were living that life. So when I tell certain, some stories I could tell and some stories I'll never tell. But the thing is, it's almost
Which I respect. I respect that. Yeah.
But well, that's because Mama raised a gentleman. You don't.
Yeah.
It's certain story you just don't talk about. And
Exactly.
it's not because you fear anything. It's not because you're trying to be coy. No. It's because as as someone that grew up with the true mafioso blueprint.
Yes. There's
what Robert De Niro said in Goodfellas. He said, "We're not mad at you. You followed the two most important rules: never rat on your friends and keep your mouth shut."
Yep.
Certain
And he did
things
those things.
You just don't talk about. So the thing is that my mom raised a gentleman. So for me, as hood as street as I can be, and as I am, the thing is, you learn that passageway, and that's why you don't hear those kind of stories about me around. Because the thing is just that now some people who may talk about it, if they bring it up, they'd be like, "Yo, so Lauren," I'm like, there might be some truth to that, and I just leave it there. Now, if I can talk about it freely, and the person, I'm like, okay, well, let me show you let me show you what happened with that, and then I'll get into it. And that'll be like a rare exclusive thing. And then here's the thing: it's never to defame anybody, it's never to put anybody down, but it's more so because as a storyteller, you're engaging your audience on what you can speak of. But again, that's the old school part of who I am. Where we from, you don't talk. It's certain things you just didn't talk about, and I stay true to that. That's the reason why on my social medias they respect me. You seen that, like the fans that they come on, and then that's because I had to let a few motherfuckers know 10 years ago when I was getting on the Facebook and all that stuff. Now and then you got people that test you, and then you got to kind of put them in their place. I'm like,
oh, exactly.
Take the page for that. I'm just letting y'all know now.
Like
next person that, I'm gonna curse you, then I'm gonna block you. Period. And that's it. You put them in their place, then they learn.
Yeah. I mean, this is me doing this now, me doing solo podcasting for a little over a year now.
Okay.
I actually had a podcast prior to this with one of my oldest friends, and we had conflicted
interest.
Not interest, conflict in the time scheduling.
Okay,
he has older kids, I have younger kids,
Ah.
so that's why I record late at night, because I got to take care of the kids, you know what I mean?
Look, hello, your children come first. Period.
Yeah, so my wife and my kids push me to do my own thing, and here I am.
That's awesome.
Listen,
oh wow.
I don't have 2,000 followers. I don't have the connections of NBC, ABC,
It ain't
VH1.
about the amount, baby. It's about the quality.
No, and that's the thing. That's what I like to do. And this is where, now I release everything every 2 weeks. Why? Because I write now blogs too. Like today I released a blog. Top 5 songs of the 1980.
Ooh. That's a hard one. What genre?
Well, that's the thing. So I went to the top 100 billboards, and
Let
it's
me hear
funny.
this. Come with it.
I will. Hold on. So top 5 songs of 1980. Number 5, Captain Antonelli. Do that time. Do that to me one more
Do
time.
it to me one more
What's
time. Oh, it's nil. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Number 4, Michael Jackson's "Rock with You." Okay. Now this one threw me for a loop, but it's Olivia Newton-John's "Magic" from the Xanadu film.
Ooh.
That's what I
I
said.
love Xanadu. Oh shit! Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's a good call. Gotcha.
So number 2, another brick in the wall, part 2 from Pink Floyd.
Of course.
And then number 1, "Call Me Blondie." So
That's a good list, man.
it is. So what I do, as a small time guy, I write blogs. Like I wrote about the Nintendo NES system in the top 5 video games.
I still have mine.
I wish I had mine. I have the mini, but I'll tell you this, it brings back memories. And it's so funny how many people have commented on that saying, "I remember throwing my zapper through the TV." I go, "Yeah, I did that a couple times too."
But you know why though, right? Let me tell you why that's working for you. Because our era, and no disrespect to the 60s or the 70s,
No.
our era is the most diverse era, bar none. 80s and the 90s, that connection, that bridging of the gap.
Yeah.
Because the dimensions of the technology that we had back then.
Yeah.
It's funny how you watch Nintendo go from this 16-bit graphic and this sort of thing to have this. And then now we have this upgraded quality where the characters look even more real, like damn near futuristic, and you can damn near touch them. So the fact that we're still here to talk about it and we see it in real time. So the thing is, it's connecting with the audience that's your age. Like this is where, podcasts is where demographics really matter, because you're tapping into a zone that everybody don't get a chance to really speak about. So that gives you a lane of your own.
And that's why for me, talking about not just one thing, I'm talking about awareness.
Yes.
I did domestic violence this week. We talked about that with a very well young lady. She came on the show and gave us some tips about narcissistic relationships. Autism. Another friend of mine, her son is autistic. We talked about that. She was great. Another friend of mine, type 1 diabetes. Another one, cerebral palsy. I had another guy who had a huge drug problem, 1 year sober. You know what I mean? Like these stories. I said, I tell people, they ask me, why do I love it? Because it's giving someone who might not be the biggest voice, but sometimes the little people need to be heard and it needs to be shared.
And the little people do become the big people, because what happens is that, my shit is called the Planet Talk movement.
Yeah.
Look at the word movement. No movement is a movement unless it's moving.
Exactly.
When I came on MySpace, this is back in the day when I started on MySpace, a lot of my fans are still here with me from MySpace, which is interesting because they watched me go through all the different portals of social media to build up the majority of my career when record labels weren't taking me in, and then the record labels that wanted to sign me, they wanted to change me. So I couldn't win or lose. And when I finally decided to become a valuable commodity within myself and use the marketing tool of social media, as well as keep getting booked and doing my shows, I built my fan base in small increments. And the funny thing is that most of my fans became my fans not through my music. They just like the shit I was talking on Twitter. They're like, man, Law's like where wow, we need guys like him. And see, here's the thing, because anybody can have an opinion about the music industry, but when you got someone who's Grammy recognized and has a resume that speaks volume, these ain't just photo ops on my website.
No, these are resumes.
You can go up to Nile Richie right now and mention my name and watch his reaction, and he'll tell you the best Law story about me working and hanging out with him. But the thing is that is why my fan base continues to grow even now, because when people hear someone like me talk, they know, okay, he ain't just running his mouth. His resume, because we're in Brooklyn, because where I'm from in Brooklyn, you have to back it up. You can't talk all this shit and not back up what you do. I can fight. If you can fight,
I read the bios, and I'll tell you, man, I knew who you were just by reading it. You're a fighter, you're a battler, you're a true man to his word, man. And that's something I was so excited to get you on. And I seen a couple of your IG lives. I've been on,
And
and you call, and I know
yeah,
you're
I
like,
caught you on one
yeah,
that, that
you're like Sleepy. And I'm like, yes, I
you know.
can't wait. You know what I mean? Like, and that's something that it's an amazing thing. You know what I mean? Like to be called out like that on someone else's IG
Oh
live,
yeah,
it's
man.
amazing, man. For me, that's like the best thing. Like I had a one of my friends who's a custom sneaker maker and remote controls, next level customs out of Philly, my boy Ryan.
Oh, okay.
So he's done a lot of the Phillies custom cleats and sneakers.
Ooh, I gotta look at make sure I get his number, man. I gotta
You know,
talk
I'll
to him.
definitely, you know what? I'll sing it. You know what I'm gonna do? But when we before we go out tonight, I'll show you.
Okay.
Um and we went live because I got the PlayStation control, PS5 control made for my show that he
Oh
did
wow.
for me.
Okay.
And then his boy Brian Stott from the Philadelphia Phillies came on and is texting throughout. And I'm like, dude,
Wow.
that's my, you're like, dude, I'm like, all right, wow. I go, if you want to jump on with us, come on. But I think because he was with his family, which I respected, he
Yeah,
was.
absolutely.
I said,
Hmm.
if you ever get a chance, I'd love to get you on the show. You know what I mean? And it's hard. Listen, I understand athletes have grueling schedules. Like I'm a New York Ranger fan, and I'm trying to get Ryan Callahan, who used to be a New York captains of the New York Rangers.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
for me, I met him a couple of weeks ago at a signing event through a friend of mine. I
Okay.
got to talk to him and I said, listen, you're on this podcast. I would love to get you on my podcast. And he goes, here's my email address. Let me know. I hit him up. He hit me back up. And then just the other night, he's like, I'm sorry I couldn't get back to you. I'm like, listen, you're busy. It's playoffs now.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
go, listen, if I can get you during the summer, I'll be thrilled. You know,
See?
and for me, that's like the ultimate thing. Listen, if I can get you here, you know what I mean? This means I accomplished something.
Wow, man. That's man, you made my weekend, man. Like
You know what I
you
mean?
know, to get that kind of respect as an independent artist is the greatest thing because it just reminds me every time that I'm glad I chose the route that I chose because when I get on shows like this.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like for me, Law, you know, if anybody who's ever not read your resume, like for instance, you know, Katrina sent me a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? 2007 MTV Awards with David Letterman and his White Kangol glory singing and dancing behind the legendary British sensation Amy Winehouse. That's one. Okay. Songs of various VH1, NBA, TV1, Oxygen, Bravo, A&E, Lifetime, popular MTV shows, The Real World, Brooklyn and Hollywood. Critically acclaimed 7-time Grammy nominated first album, The 12
Yes.
Planet Syndrome, working with Lionel Richie, Diane Warren, EPMD, Rosanna Arquette, Ellen Barkin, Drew Hill, Megan McKelly, Will and Grace, Ice T, and the late Tina Marie.
Tim Marie, yeah.
So when you see something like this, and then again, the list goes on. It's an amazing thing what you've done. So for me to have you on this show is like you don't understand that. Just for me it's just mind blowing. You know what I mean? And that's what I love what I do because you just don't
Thank
know
you.
who you're going to meet. You could say you might just say, "Dude, I was just on this guy's show. You got to check it out." And who knows that hip hop artist or New Kid on the Block or Ice T or Lionel Richie say, "Oh, how do I get in contact with them?"
You
You
know
never
why?
know it.
And I'm gonna tell you this to add to that what you just said. Because even as a teenager,
Mhm.
my mentality was always when one of us wins, we all win. Because
Yeah,
here's the, especially if you're from where I'm from. Like the thing is that when you see me again, like when you see me toasting up, it's for the
yeah.
people that never made it. The guys that I knew who had talent and didn't have the same type of drive and didn't have people helping them out or back. I'm very fortunate that I had the support of my neighbor and of
Mhm.
course my family. My family invested into my being. But here's the thing, I'm gonna give you this little story real quick. I remember we were the house band. I was in my uncle's band, Eternity. That's the
Mhm.
name of the band with a U, Eternity, not with an E, but with a U. And we were playing this famous club called the LaBar Bat in Manhattan. If you get a chance, look it up. LaBar Bat was an old studio where Jungle Boogie was recorded by Kool and the Game, and they turned the studio into a club. So
Right,
the
right. I
fact Al Smith recorded that right before they got with Run DMC. The last two albums that they did, remember they were kind of on the brink when they tried to work with Run
yeah.
DMC. They fell off for a couple of years. The last 2 albums that they did was in that place. And the thing is, they turned. Well, it was to me, it was the hottest club of the '90s, in my opinion. And the thing was that we were the house band, so we kicking ass every night. You know, Fridays we got it packed. So you know, certain celebrities, like one time Ricky Henderson came through. We saw him. Yeah, crazy, right?
That's nuts.
Doc Gooding came through. So Sony Music had this thing called Showcase Night, where they would bring in the acts that they had just signed, or act that had been signed for a year, but they finally given them exposure.
Mm-hmm.
So lo and behold, we do our 2 sets. Sony Showcase starts. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna bring out these 4 girls. They're from Houston, Texas. They're about to release their first single called No No No. Give it up for Destiny Child.
I remember that song too.
I was there, but this is a showcase. It's not the, you know.
Yeah, it's
so
not.
I am. And when people always ask me, like, did you see B? I said, listen, I'm gonna say this, and people probably won't agree, but I was there. All four girls, Latoya, Kelly, Latavia, but we knew. I'm like, and mind you, nobody knew who they were yet.
Mm-hmm.
But when Beyonce stepped out to sing that, well, you know, you want me, I can see. I'm like, something about that one right there. Like, and not, you know, of course she's gorgeous, you know, and the thing is, she can sing, but the way it wasn't, but it reminded me of me because it wasn't your typical number. I think she was like either 15 or 16 at the time, 17.
She was like, yeah, I think she was 16.
But she exuded the confidence of the women of my mother's era. You know, the Tina Turner's, had that. She had that, and mind you, we're like, yo, they're dope, and they can harmonize, they can sing. So we made it a point when the show was over, we went to them. He's like, I said, yo, man, that's when does the album come out again? So for me, I wouldn't see the next time I would see Beyonce after that is when her and Jay-Z were a couple. It's when Crazy in Love that came out. So
okay,
she remembered. That's the thing. She didn't forget. I said, you know, it's crazy because I knew. So when you hear all these people like, oh, because she ain't, I said, no, y'all don't understand. I was there. I saw it. I said, I tell you up front, I was at the Apollo when they made their debut. So the reason why I'm saying this to you is because when people become who they become, you want to also be able, you know, there's no greater feeling than being able to say, I was there. I saw it. I actually called it. And people are like, oh, that's bullshit. That's not going to happen. I'm like, you keep sleeping. So the adage I've always took as a youngin' was treat everybody the same. Because unless they're trying to compete with you, that's different. They're trying to compete with you, like, okay, I got you now. But but people who were on talent, like people who I knew that were good, like even now in the company that I work for, with, you know, in the agency, we do weddings and bar mitzvahs and stuff. Shout out to Element Music, by the way. I used to run some of the auditions because I can see and hear things that some of the other people on the panel couldn't.
Right.
And I would fight for who I thought was dope. And I would tell them every single time, I'm like, I'm telling you now, y'all don't want to be those guys that regret signing someone you couldn't sign. And then they turn around and, perfect example, Alicia Cook, who later became Alicia Keys. I grew up with Alicia. So here's a funny thing. Steve Stout, that's Nas's manager, as you know.
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
Stout had a chance to sign Alicia Keys right before Clive Davis scooped her up. And he's like, it's too, you know, I don't think anybody wants to hear a young girl from Hell's Kitchen hood that's classically trained. I don't get it. And then Jermaine Dupri actually had Alicia Keys, and they didn't know what to do with her. And here comes along the great Clive Davis. You know his track record. He knew what to do. He said, you know what? No, you need someone like me.
Right.
And 30 Grammys later. So this one about that. But see, you gotta remember, when people believe in what you're doing, they're gonna have that. That's why anytime you see me do an interview, when I shout out Morris Day and the Time, those are my Minneapolis uncles. When I shout out all those guys, George Clinton and everybody who I work with, you know why I do that? Because all those entities took a chance and believed in me. Nobody else did. Look, even Amy, my little sister, rest in peace.
Yeah, Amy Winehouse. Yeah,
Amy was hot. Like, you remember at that particular moment, Amy was hot. And this way, people forget, she was so hot that people thought that Back to Black was her first album. I said, no, that's the second album.
That was her second album.
Second album. So the thing is that, and here I am, I'm her opening act now at this point.
Right.
I'm singing backup for her, but she heard my demo through her boyfriend because her boyfriend Blake was a hip hop fan.
Nice.
No, Amy is too. I'm just saying, but Blake is really like he's a London.
He was legit.
he's like, yo, love, man. I heard you rap too, man. I said, yeah, I'm actually working on the album now, but I have the demo. We haven't chopped into the right deal yet. So you got a copy? I'd love to hear it. I said, you know what? Because he had an interest. Him like, I love the way you sing, but people telling me you can rhyme too. I want to hear the way you rhyme. I gave him a CD. The next day of rehearsal, this is actually the day that we did David Letterman.
Mm-hmm.
Amy comes in. Her nickname for me was Lozzie.
Okay.
Lozzie, oh, yo, Blake, let me hear that. Oh my fucking God. You got to open up for me one of these days. You're going to open up. I'm like, wow. Now, Amy didn't owe me a damn thing. I'm just happy that I'm singing backup for her. They love the way, why? Because they love the way I dance. They love the way I sing. I'm just happy with that. And that's a blessing just to even be in that position. But when Amy heard my demo, and mind you, that's the demo that became the Planet Soul Syndrome, the first album. That's the album that became the demo, which still works wonders to this day. So the crazy thing is that to get that from my London little sis, who was hot on the charts, she's #1, and then they kept her deported because all her issues that she had with drugs and alcohol. A year after we stopped working together because they kept her detained in Europe. And was nominated. And honestly, you see that that clip that they always show when they call her name and she don't even realize why people are jumping around. She's like, hold up, I won? Like she did that was real. Because Amy really thought, because of her insecurities and different things and her issues, with substance and stuff like that, she just really thought that she wasn't an industry darling. Even though she loved being on stage and she knew that people loved her, like, we all loved her, and of course the fans went crazy over her, she was still that little girl from Camden Town. Like that's how humbling that part was. But to see that thing, they my boys, Zaylon and them hugging up on them, like, she's like, oh my God. I mean, she didn't even have a speech, because the thing is, in that moment. So going back to what you said, when you believe, all I think about every time somebody comes to me like, yo, I loved you with Amy. I watched y'all documentary the other night. And the funny thing is that all I can do is sit in my home and say to myself, wow, Law, now what if you would have been on some snooty, snobby shit? Because at that point, when I took the job on with Amy, just to give you the brief part of how, at that time in my career, I already had some backup for Shaka Khan, Freddie Jackson. I was doing shit. So the thing is that I was at the level where it's like, I'm not singing backup behind just anybody, which is true, because at that point, your reputation is really attached to who you work with. So I knew if the act was whack, guess what? I'm not going to get no play for singing behind MC such and such, and they corny. I mean, it puts the money, but at that point, money wasn't an issue anymore. I was making some pretty good money.
Yeah.
Is that I'm there, but then when they put me on the Amy Winehouse, I had to make up a lie. I said, well, let me check my schedule. I wasn't checking my schedule. I was going to YouTube to see who this Amy chick was. And once I went to YouTube and saw the Fuck Me Pump song, I was sold. Because it's not what people think it's about. It's really about her telling the girl that she lost her mind over a guy, and look at you now. You was bragging how you was the shit. Like kind of like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan. You was the shit, but look at you now. How does it feel? Like it's kind of like that kind of a song. So the thing is that that's what sold me. So I say, what if I would have never called Ray back and said, I'll take the job, or I'm interested because I like the way she is. And that'll take you right back to me saying, that's why you have to treat people the same no matter which way you think about it, because the devil will literally trick you out of something that's meant for you and your destiny to move forward and to open doors for your podcast, anything else that you do, because you choose to want some.
Well, that's why, like, when Katrina emailed me personally with Kenny, and I said, well, hold on, let me check out the website, just like you did. Let me check out the website. Let me see. I'm like, whoa, is like, you got Naughty by Nature. I see Kenny. I saw you. I saw Roger Ortega. I'm like, all right, there's some people here that I've heard of and I know of and I've seen. And you know what? I said, you know what? I'm doing it. So then we got Kenny. Then I got SJ. Then I got Katrina and Rachel on the show. And then here I am here with you. So I feel like it's opening doors. And having you here, it could open other doors too. You know what I mean? Like,
that's the whole point. That's what I'm saying. That's the whole point.
And to have you as a connection too, not even just a connection, I say friend, because I feel like, we had such a great time talking. We've been over an hour. You and I could talk for hours. And well, to be honest with you, you're always welcome on the show anytime, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anything you need, you want me to promote something for somebody, anything. I'm glad to help out.
Like I already told you, I'm gonna holler at my brother when I get off with you too. But the thing is that if you want to have that kind of a conversation in terms of the sports, the music, and the best, And the best Jay-Z stories because it's coming from someone who
Who knows
still
him?
rolls with the camp and actually knows him. Knows. Like I said, I always tell that because of my connection to my older brother because I was there. Like I said, my great grandmother lived in Marcy, so we was
Yeah.
over. We wasn't in Albany and St. Mark's. We were in Marcy. So the thing is that I could talk about it because I was there up front, but you got to remember that's my older brother. They're all the same age, so for
Yeah.
them, it's like they could tell that I'm learning new stuff that they did in certain things that happened right before Jay-Z took off with the music and everything like that. So the thing is just that look at me still learning from my older brother. I knew most of the stories, but to learn some other stuff I didn't know, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, wow.
Yeah. I
Remember,
definitely,
so.
if your brother ever wants to come on, he's more than welcome too, man. Like, I mean, to be honest with you, just having here tonight, it's just a blessing, man. Just having you here, I can't thank you enough. God, again, Katrina and Rachel, Kick Up Your Heels Entertainment.
Shout out
Thank
to
you to
Kick Up Your
them.
Heels Entertainment. I love it.
Definitely thank them for me, having me talking to your clients and their clients with you here. The good thing, the report I've got is like you take care of our clients well. I go, I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to feel themselves.
Man, it felt like it felt like being in the gym. Like that's why I asked about the gym. I was like, it felt like being in the gym with a long lost brother because
Yeah.
again, we have a lot of similarities in how we view things in terms of
Yeah.
sports and music and stuff like that. And the thing is, camaraderie is always a great thing when you have someone who's interested in your story coming from a pure place. So
Yeah.
again, thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely, let me know whatever days I'll easily come back on with no
Oh yeah,
question.
you let me know, man. And before we definitely before we end the night, can you let everybody know where they can find you so they can start searching for you?
Absolutely. Of course, on Instagram is Planet 12 Law at Planet 12 Law. And my second Instagram page is at Planet 12 Story. That's why I tell all the deep part of the
These
story.
verse.
Twitter X, of course, at Planet 12 Law. On Facebook, facebook.com/Law Planet 12. YouTube page, Planet 12 Law and Law. I have two YouTube pages, so you'll check those out too. And then, of
Yep.
course, all my music is available on Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, all the digital streaming platforms. You can go there and pick up all the music that we have out now. And then we got a whole bunch of new music coming out really, really soon in the next couple of months.
And I can't wait for that too. So, being that said, we will have Law back on the show again. I gotta say, I'm very blessed to have you on the show, man. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
coming
much,
on.
man. Appreciate it, bro.
Appreciate you too, my friend. And listen, guys, here's a man who's actually grown up from the streets, who's done everything, and has grown up. And look at him come on top, guys. Dreams come true, and that's what I keep. And that's why I keep shooting for bigger and better for this show.
As you should.
And that's what I do every time. You know what I mean? I got to hustle to work harder to make the show the way it is. And with you being here tonight too, makes a huge impact for me.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
and I got to thank you again. So, like I always end my show, guys, thank you so much for listening. Just check us all out. But also, I always end the show. It's nothing but love, peace, and happiness. Good night, everybody.